Hi, Alistair Weaver here for Edmunds in Texas with a new Tesla Model Y Standard. A car very different to what we're expecting. This is the cheapest Model Y with a range of mods designed to cut costs. So does the Standard set a new standard for an affordable electric SUV, or is the Standard substandard? Let's find out.
We're Edmunds. We test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck or SUV is the best, stick with us.
Let's start with the exterior, where the changes are actually pretty shocking. Gone is the light beam signature of the latest generation Model Y to be replaced by this kind of unique headlamp treatment. As we wander down the side, you get new, smaller 18-inch wheels hiding less sophisticated suspension. I'm going to talk more about that in a couple of minutes' time. And when you arrive at the rear, the light beam here has also been deleted, so you have unique tail lamps. Now, for what it's worth, I actually prefer the look of this car than the other Model Y. But there's no denying that if you care about what your neighbours think, you are undeniably driving the poverty spec Tesla. This is the car that Uber drivers will choose. At first glance, you might think that not too much has changed in here. You still have the same 15.4-inch touchscreen, a signature feature of pretty much every Tesla. But when you delve a little deeper, actually quite a lot is different. Let's start with the things that I actually like. This steering wheel adjusts manually, but I kind of like that, and it still has a good range of adjustment for a fine driving position. These seats remain mighty comfortable, and I actually quite like the fabric. You now have to adjust them through the touchscreen rather than with physical controls, but once you've got them set up, again, not such a big deal. I really like the fact that Tesla has got rid of the rear entertainment screen, because my kids are obsessed with TV and it drives me nuts. What don't I like so much? Well, let's start with the audio system, which has now been detuned from 15 speakers and a subwoofer to just 7. Doesn't sound terrible, it doesn't quite have the kick of before, and if you care about these things, AM and FM radio has gone too. Ambient lighting, well, you don't get as much, and you can't tune the colour around the dashboard. Again, a little thing, but adds to that sense of luxury and novelty. The HEPA filter, if you have allergies like me, that's gone. That's a problem. But arguably the biggest thing of all, Tesla's got rid of the panoramic glass roof, which has kind of been a signature of theirs since the Model 3. It's still glass, but underneath is this big fabric covering. Now, they say they've done that for two reasons. One, so you don't get so much heat soak through the roof and you can run the air conditioning more efficiently. And also because they've got rid of the double glazing in the windows, that means you get more wind and road noise, so you have to counteract that by putting noise insulation into the roof. It's not so bad if you sat in the front because you're just looking forwards, but for rear passengers, it's a real shame. So it doesn't feel quite as posh as the Model Y Premium, but I don't want to go too far with this. This is still a nice place to be. The seats are really comfortable, the driving position's great, you get a great view out, and this screen is still one of the most responsive on the market. It still stands up to comparison with rivals like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Chevrolet Equinox EV. And if you want to know more about those rivals, or perhaps compare one Tesla with another, then be sure to head to Edmunds.com, which has all your car shopping needs. In the rear, you certainly feel the loss of that nice panoramic glass roof. It feels a little bit more claustrophobic, but headroom is good. I'm 6'4". This is set up for me, and as you can see, knee, feet, and indeed leg room are all pretty impressive. With that touchscreen gone in the center, you now have to move your air around manually. Shock horror, but it's nice to see a couple of USB-C ports. This is a bit odd though. This is another money-saving gadget. Instead of having a nice little fold-out cup holder in the middle, you pull this little tag and the whole of the middle seat falls down, which feels a bit low rent. And the penny pinching, as we used to say in the mother country, doesn't stop there. I'm going to use the app to open the frunk. Now, Edmunds has owned 7, 8 different Teslas, and my family used to lease a Model 3, and all of them had a nicely finished front trunk, or frunk if you prefer. This, on the other hand, has this with no insulation whatsoever. Not only is it a cubic feet smaller than those in other Model Ys, it's also not really suitable for storing anything proper. Even the engineers are telling us you shouldn't now put a laptop in there. That's rubbish. They've also managed to save a few dollars here at the rear. In every other Model Y, the rear seat split and fold with some help from electricity, but here it's all manual. Honestly though, that's something I reckon I could live with. The rest of the trunk is as before. It's a good shape, nice and spacious, and it's great to have this big cubby under here for keeping valuable items out of the sight of prying eyes. The Model Y is still a good, versatile, practical family car. Let's go. Let's talk performance. This car has been detuned relative to the premium, and according to Tesla's own figures, the 0 to 60 time has increased from 5.4 seconds for the equivalent premium rear-wheel drive to 6.8 seconds for this. Now that sounds like a lot, 1.4 seconds, but in reality for a family SUV it's still plenty fast enough. And of course you get that instantaneous surge of torque that is common to every EV. You never really get into this and think really lacks performance. Tesla's also reworked the suspension, and the very trick and expensive dampers that have fitted the latest generation Model Y have been replaced by something more akin to those fitted to the previous generation car. Now, the issue with that car, and we were one of the biggest critics of this, is that the ride quality was pretty awful. It was much too stiff for a family car. So Tesla's tried to retune it for this latest generation standard. What they've effectively done is soften the whole thing off. So what you lose is that instantaneous response as you turn the steering wheel. It doesn't just sort of pivot and go like pretty much every other Tesla that I've ever driven. It has a little bit more body roll. I can demonstrate through this corner now. As you turn in, you have a little bit more body roll. It feels a little bit softer on its settings, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is, after all, a family car, not a racing car. It is very comfortable. I could live with this compromise, even if on the odd day when I was on my own and I wanted to get on with it, I might miss some of those more sporting responses. At the end of the day, you've got to pay your money and take your choice. It's no secret that electric vehicle batteries are super expensive. So in a bid to save yet a few more dollars, Tesla has reduced the size of this battery by between 10 and 15% compared with the premium version of the Model Y. And if you have less energy, you go less far. The EPA reckons that the premium car should do 357 miles on a single charge, this one 321 miles. Now at Edmunds we pioneered the Edmunds EV range test, which is an independent verification of these figures. And most of the Teslas we've tested recently have pretty much hit that EPA figure, which bodes well for this car. Now, if it does over 300 miles, it should sit somewhere between the Ioniq 5, which is under 300 miles, and the Chevrolet Equinox, which was over 350. So pretty decent place in the market. Now Tesla admits that this version will charge slightly slower than other versions of the Model Y, but probably not by so much that you'd really notice. But again, we'll put that to the test when we get it back to HQ. One little thing to mention there, of course, about charging is Tesla still has the best fast charging infrastructure in the US. And although lots of other brands can use part of it now, having a bona fide Tesla still gives you the best access and the most seamless experience. Well worth considering if you're going to fast charge your EV across the country. Now, most of the changes to this car, I think, are common sense. It's easy to see why Tesla made the decisions they did in order to reduce costs. But there is one element that I think is particularly cynical. This car has all the technology it needs for full self-driving. You can opt for that. It's about $100 a month, and then the car will, in theory, drive itself. But what they won't allow the car to do is Autosteer. So the cruise control that's fitted manages the speed from this vehicle to the one in front, but it doesn't steer for you in the highway in the way that every other Tesla does. I just want to demonstrate something if I can. You can show that if I now veer to the lane, look, the car is actually steering itself as a safety feature. It's beeping and it's using corrective steering as I veer towards the white lines. So the car has all the technology it needs to provide that convenience feature, but Tesla has deliberately decoupled it. And they've done that to try and incentivize people to spend the extra $5,000 and buy the premium. That's not good. I've been in this game a long time and it's rare for me to be genuinely surprised, but today I really am. We flew to Texas expecting to meet a mildly detuned version of the existing Model Y for a little bit less money. But this is so much more than that. As I said earlier, I'm genuinely shocked by how far Tesla has gone to take cost out of this vehicle. And having done all that, they've really only saved about 10%. This car is only $5,000 cheaper than the Model Y Premium, and is $5,000 more expensive than the new entry-level price of Hyundai's excellent Ioniq 5. Viewed in isolation, it's still an excellent family electric SUV. It's practical, it's versatile, it's comfortable, it's a great all-round, and of course Tesla has the best charging infrastructure. But it will still be interesting to see how many people stretch to the premium version, especially when they're building it into a lease or a finance deal. We can't wait to get this car back to our test track in LA to run the full gamut of tests, including the world famous Edmunds EV range, charging and efficiency tests. Then we'll be able to deliver our definitive Edmunds rating and see how this car stacks up, not just with the other Model Ys, but all of its key competitors. So head to edmunds.com and follow us on the journey. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.